Curse the day. It doesn't sound good. In this lesson, we continue to reflect on human suffering in the context of the book of Job.
And not long after Job lost everything, as we saw in chapter 1, in chapter 3, he spoke out for the first time, and all that he said was an expression of desperation and hopelessness. What this lesson invites us to do is to put ourselves in his shoes, forget about our lives, put aside all the worries that we have, and walk in his shoes.
Some of Job's friends came to see him probably with similar intentions, but they were so shocked when they saw him. They cried loudly. It pained them deeply. So they sat there for 7 days and nights. They didn't know what to say, just sat there. Now, in the previous lessons, we talked about things that Job didn't know, about the reasons for what was happening with him, and also about God in relation to human suffering. But Job, he didn't know any of it. All that he knew is that suddenly his life tumbled down, one thing after another, and he was hurting, extremely bad.
And Job found himself in a very unhappy state of grief and state of sorrow, state of no feelings and complete emptiness. Still alive, he wanted to put off the only one dimming flame left by reversing everything back to his birth and obliterating his existence in this world. May the day of my birth perish. Now, in his eyes and his mind, his existence was empty, meaningless, and in darkness.
Unfortunately, it wouldn't be very difficult for many of us to put ourselves in Job's situation. There are so many senseless tragedies, shootings in schools, drunk drivers, terror, cancer. It's too much. What Job is bringing up here is legitimate. Why come into such life? Isn't it better to not have been born at all? He says, may those who curse days curse that day.
Job also wished that he could be in rest, lying down in peace with all the rulers and the kings of this earth. Death was a sweet place for him to be, to disappear, regardless of the nothingness that will embrace him there, but at least with no pain and no hardship. I'm afraid when I hear today the statistics about people who have taken their own lives due to some crisis or disappointments. According to USA Today, there is a suicide every 13 minutes in the United States.
Suicide and depression are huge problems, but this is not what it's about here with Job. He struggles immensely and he can't make sense of it. All that he wants is peace and rest. Maybe if he had died earlier, it could have been better. The lesson takes the occasion to point out that Job didn't believe in afterlife. He wasn't looking to jump on clouds or thinking about hell. Hell for him was here in his struggles. For Job, death was asleep. This is the biblical idea, sleep until Jesus comes. And Job was thinking about this because, as he says, I have no peace, no quietness, I have no rest, but only turmoil. After chapter 3, one of Job's friends starts to speak and to lecture him for the next 2 chapters. We'll get back to this next week. Now we skip to chapter 6, and it doesn't seem that Job's weight got any lighter from there.
Sometimes we try to feel what people who suffer feel. We try to comprehend the measure with which they go through a sort of agony in their own way. But how successful could I be in that? And it seems that Job was trying to find some comfort, some empathy by telling us the enormous measure of his grief. And his measure was that all the sand in the seas will be outweighed by the weight of his own grief and calamity.
Some are saying that shared pain is half pain, and there may be some psychological truth into this. However, no one can suffer someone else's pain. If it pains you to see me suffering, you are experiencing your own pain. But this is not my pain. We can't feel other people's pain. It's a personal journey, and one assurance that we have is that we will not suffer more than we can bear.
I'm not sure was it out of despair or out of critical spirit when in chapter 7 Job continues his lament, and on his list of shortcomings in this world is the shortness of life. Oh, my life is a breath, he says, short, brief, and swift. What happened with Job? Now, with all this destruction in his life, he was able to see things completely different. And I'm thinking, when life runs smoothly, it seems like an eternity with no end. But when life dims away, it feels like insufficient, limited.
So Job first wished to not have been born or to have died earlier. Now he struggles that life is really short. It doesn't have to make sense. There is no sense in suffering. But when nothing around you makes sense, it's unbearable. Job gets even a bit angry. He's confused on the relationship between God and man.
It's very ironic, but Job finds God interested in him by the events and the circumstances that shaped his life. He sees himself so small in comparison to the vast universe that God should be busy with. And he wonders, what is a man that you give him so much attention? And with my own words, what is really between me and you, God? Tell me, I really want to know badly. And I find the answer in 1 John chapter 3 verse 1. We should be called sons of God, because see how great of love the Father has given us.
It's amazing when we are able to see this love of God that goes through the impossible to make us His children. But Job is not there yet. He struggles and nothing makes sense. His friends are ready to weigh in, but this is for next week.